Hey guys, been a while since I made one, but I got a little treat for you today. I'm standing here with Romanian Dave. What's going on, man?
Same old, man. Just
Yeah,
decided to come visit a little bit in
yeah,
Michigan.
yeah, he found himself in Michigan. Most of you guys know he is my uncle. He is the backbone to the birds of my loft. He himself bred the parents of my two race winners, and he also has 10 Flies Pigeon Station out in Oklahoma. He posts a lot of different things, but you know what? I'm gonna let him tell himself, tell a little bit about himself. So there you go, man. Tell him
Well, I mean, a little bit about myself. There's not much, as y'all can see. Getting gray, one of the thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, just like you said, yeah. I mean, I go by the name Romanian Dave, and 10 Flies Pigeon Station, just like you mentioned. It's on Facebook stuff, but that's not that important. And I mean, what else can I say? Just besides being a pigeon fanatic, I mean, like we all love pigeons. It's one of the things. I mean, but, and
Well, tell us a little bit about that family of birds you got, man. Where they originate from, what you've been doing with them.
well, the family originated from here, from Detroit. As far as I can go back in the pedigrees, it's all family based out of Detroit. Now they're called the Detroit Beckerts. And so, I mean, there's the family of the Domaine de Schmidts, the blacks with the white flights, and then there's the Oscar Carl Reds, which is based in two families. Most people call them all Beckerts, but they ain't all Beckerts. They're, the Oscar Carl Reds, and then the Domaine de Schmidts, the blacks, velvets, basically splashes, a lot of splashes and stuff like that. And these two lines seem to cross very well together. And over the years, we all just kind of forget about where they come from, where they end up, and what they're doing, and people are going away from all these older bloodlines, and all they want is just speed pigeons, fast. And so now, there's several people that are coming back to the older bloodlines because the new ones have just been so washed out, crossbred with this and crossed with that, and for some races are perfectly fine. I mean, everybody has a different taste in what they like. Me personally, I like long distance, and the Beckerts are perfect for that. And I've won races with them from 100 miles all the way to 600 miles, and in all types of weather. From side wind to head winds to tail winds, cross winds, head and shoulder winds. I mean, just scenario of every type. I was in my club. I was 23 miles east of the competition. I had nobody above me or nobody below me. And so my birds had to break at least 50 to 60 miles off the line for me to be able to win races. And we always flew out of the south, which in Oklahoma, we flew out of Texas, which a lot of the winds was southeast. And I was the farthest one on the east, and I was still winning races. And it's not because I'm such a great pigeon flyer. It's the birds. They did it themselves, and so they deserve all the recognition out there. But the family, like I said, originated from here, and how I came about him is through Adrian. He used to know by the guy by the name of Dick Newman from here, from Detroit, where they're originally from. And he was a super flyer and super breeder, kept him intact for so many years, and that's my goal, is to do the same, is keep this family intact. And so I bred several rounds of them and put them in the stock when I got them, and then I immediately started crossing their children with other pigeons, from Van Loons to Hubans to Millmans to whatever I had at the time. And I've done very well with them. Like I said, I've won races from 100 to 600 miles with them. And my first season, when I started with them in 2012, I won 7 first places. I spent quite a bit of money in other bloodlines of pigeons before and never really done a whole lot. Was always in the middle or bottom of the sheets. I was never on top. But as soon as I crossed the Beckerts into those bloodlines, I went straight to the top. And in the last 5 years that I flew with these pigeons in my club, which is called the Pro Club Pigeon Racer of Oklahoma, and flying the Big Red Combine, I've been champion loft 4 years in a row. They haven't took me. And like I said earlier, it's not because I'm such a good pigeon handler or it's the birds. I mean, the birds are phenomenal. They're outstanding pigeons. and I will keep this line as long as I'm alive.
So the family of birds that you have has been doing good for you, not necessarily Beckerds in general.
No, not necessarily Beckerds in general, but that's what's put me to the top.
Yeah.
As soon as I brought these birds in, I went, like I said, winning 7 races in the first year with these pigeons.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Before then, I was, like I said, middle, the bottom of the sheets, always up and down, never been consistent. But as soon as I crossed these bloodlines into the pigeons I've had, which is basically mainly Jansen's, they started hitting the sheets. I mean, from 500 miles and sending 10 pigeons to the race and getting 8 on the drop. Wow. Sending 5 pigeons to 500 miles and get 4 on the drop. And the winners was Beckerds. Everything that I flew had Beckerd in it. Now, not necessarily 100% Beckerd. In 2014, I flew 100% Beckerd. I bred 100 youngsters and I flew them, and I finished the season with 83 youngsters. And out of there, I selected what I thought it was the best to put back into the breeding loft and sold the rest. And they all flown, and that was pure. I wanted to test the line myself and see how good they do without being crossed, see if they can still perform, and they've performed very well. And so crossed, it's what's worked the best for me. But you got to have a baseline. It doesn't matter if it's a Jansen or if it's a Huben, you got to have a baseline to be able to cross. 2 crossings is what makes a super bird. It's basically a hybrid, At least we like to think so. We don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to when you cross 2 highly inbred lines, you get a super bird. And so that's what I've done. I've kept my family of Beckerds intact, never crossed anything into the family, kept the family bred reds in between reds, blacks in between blacks, and I crossed some reds with blacks and stuff like that. And then crossed all those children with everything else I had. And like I said, in 2016, I won overall everything. Champion loft, average speed, overall champion bird, first and second. In top 10% champion birds, I had 7. And so there's just
how many family, what's the word I'm looking for here? How many pairs of Beckerds were you able to get from Newman? So what did you start with? 4 or 5 pairs? Did you end up having more pairs of Beckerds?
No, there was more. I think I don't recall exactly how many, but I know how many I bought. I bought his entire loft. And in pairs, I don't remember exactly how many pairs were, but there were 50 pigeons. And I think there was more cocks than hens. And so I crossed several hens with different cocks, and it's worked with everything. There hasn't been one pigeon in there that I can go back in the pedigrees and say, hey, this bird hadn't done anything. Now, not all of them bred me winners, but pretty much all of them bred me consistent flyers when they were crossed with something else. Not the originals themselves, because I never flew children of the originals. I stocked them because they're already old. The stock was already old when I got it. It was 2003s. Well, I got the birds in 2011. And so I wanted to keep the line pure and intact and keep it in stock and not fly anything. And then in 2012 is when I started flying them. They're grandchildren of the original stock of the 03s. And then there was a couple 07s, Panda is one of them. It's a 2007 SMCC 1903. He's been a phenomenal bird. The other bird is the 44 cock. I named that cock the 44. He never had a band. And that bird, from what I know and found out about it, Newman had these 2 sections where he kept all these reds and all these darks. Well, in that pen with the reds, he thought they were all hens. And ended up getting a set of eggs on the ground. Well, he didn't think nothing of it, because obviously there was not supposed to be a cock in there. Well, there was. And those babies hatched, and he never banded it because he didn't know what the cock, which was the father of those babies. And so that's how we end up getting that first bird, which we named the 44 cock. He had a plastic band we put on, and it was the number 44, and that's the number I gave him, the 44 cock. Him crossed with Jansen's, with Van Loon's, bred me winners. His daughter bred me a 350-mile winner by an hour and 56 minutes in front. He bred me 2 first-place winners. And there's just several good pigeons I have out of him in stock. And my all-time favorite stock bird that I have is called the 134. I call him Crazy Eye. He has two different eyes. And the 3890 hen, first year I've had them, I paired those two together. I flew their children first year, won 400 miles with the babies, solid reds. And then there's 1939. He bred me champion bird 2 years in a row, 5318. There's 2933. He bred me winners with the 175 hen. That was his mate. That was the best pair I've had out of all of them. That was the number one hit pair. It was the 175 hen with the 2933 cock. I have 5 or 6 of their children in the stock. Their son bred me winners. Their grandsons bred me winners. Now their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, start showing up on the race sheet. So there's just several of them, not just one base cock, but the base out of the darks are my 2933 and 1939. Out of the reds is the 134 cock, my 3890 hen, 3895, the 140 cock. I mean, they're just, several. I could sit here for an hour and talk about all of them. And, not to brag, but the pigeons are outstanding. They're outstanding pigeons. I mean, they're the best pigeons I've owned.
I notice a lot of your pedigrees have a lot of these lines in them, a lot of these band numbers that you keep mentioning. For instance, the parents to my winning birds also come from
that 3895.
3895 and
that
then
red
dark 2933.
Yep. And that's what it is. It's everything, 4 or 5 years down the road now, everything is showing back into great-grandchildren of them are still winning. And, it's not because I've done so great with them and protected the line. It's because of Newman. He's the backbone of all of it. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be having these pigeons. We probably wouldn't even be sitting here having this conversation right now.
Yeah, heck yeah. They did good for me.
It's because of him. It's because of the way he treated the birds, and it's and another thing is what I've seen out of these birds. They're just so resistant to just about everything. In the last 6 years, I haven't had any problems with any kind of sickness or birds just dying, or they're just immune to just about everything. It's medication wise, I haven't, just unless a bird got sick, then I medicated, but I didn't really give them a whole lot. Before I bred them, I make sure they're clean, treat them for canker or respiratory, or run into some amoxicillin and stuff like that, just to make sure. But I never had problems with disease, and it's been like I said, the best pigeons I've owned, and I'll probably own the same birds until the day I die. But like Adrian said, now he's already winning, and it's first year of him flying, and they already start hitting the sheets here, and so we're bringing him back to Michigan, so to speak.
What's next for the birds? What's next for you?
For me, it's hard to tell. And with all this moving and owning a hunting business, and from Oklahoma moving to Kansas, and now I'm thinking maybe moving back to Michigan. So it'll be a while before I get back into being serious again of flying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to do it tomorrow, but it'll be a while. So hopefully, let's see what you can do with them now.
Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm not as competitive as most. I don't really have a very competitive streak about me. I enjoy flying them. Most guys know me. I have a young family, so I got a lot of things, pulling for my attention. But with this minimum as I can, or as I put into these birds, and they still perform pretty darn well. You can occasionally see them on pigeon auction. You occasionally see them on iPigeon. You got to keep an eye out. They do occasionally go on. Do you also sell straights and crosses, or how does that work? Oh
yeah, straights, they're a little more pricey than the regular, being crossed, because everybody wants to have the pure to do them crosses themselves. I'd rather buy a pure bird that I think is pure, or in the family, than buying a cross. But I've had crosses I've sold people, and they won just as much as with the crosses than they did with the pure. They're phenomenal birds, man. it's hard to really say until you get a pair yourself and start racing them and flying them, and they start showing for yourself. And then you're like, well, it's actually, there is something about these pigeons. And it's not because what I've done to them, it's the way they've been protected and kept in that same family for so long. They're so highly inbred. They're all related. You know, in the pedigrees from way back, 2003s and 2001s and 99s and stuff, it doesn't, you know, Newman never really kept highly classified records on, you know, grandson of 2933 or granddaughter or so forth. All he did is put band numbers down. But what he told me was that they're all out of the same family, so they're all related, you know. So yeah, I mean, I do crosses with this red, with that black, with the splash, but they're all got the same blood. And so it's hard to really say exactly which one is the best, because they've all shown signs of being good breeders. You know, there is no best, so to speak. And you know, somebody has a best pigeon that bred him 20 winners. You know, those pigeons are rare. They're hard to find,
if they're existent at all.
But what I like to see is having great-grandchildren, great-children, sons, and the parents of that same family in your loft, and then I'll buy a bird. But if you just have brothers and sisters, you don't have the parents, you don't have the grandparents, you know, what did those birds really do to you? Yeah, just on pedigrees because you bred them, but having the family still in the loft intact, then you automatically know that you kept those birds for some, you know, for some reason, not just because you like the colors. And yes, there are pretty pigeons, and I like colors myself. I like splashes, you know, I like to see colors in. But not only because they're pretty, but they do fly, and you can see them on the scoring sheets. They show up. And out of all the rest of the lines I've had, none of them done what these Beckett's have done for me.
So if somebody wanted to, let's say, attain a family of birds, what would you suggest? I mean, how many would you suggest?
Well, a family depends. And you buy 2 pigeons, you're not going to build a family. It's going to take you a long time, because you're breeding out of the same children over and over, and highly inbred, and all of a sudden you're downsizing. A family, the way I would have started it, was at least 6 to 8 pigeons. You know, get something off 2933, some off 1903, and some off 2890, and I mean just several, because they're all related. But with just 2 pigeons, it's going to be hard. And this way you can cross grandchildren back, great-grandchildren, granddaughters. You know, like I was telling you earlier, a couple days ago, I personally never done a father to daughter. I like myself as a granddaughter back to the grandpa, and to preserve the line. But some people like father-daughter. I personally like it a little farther down, because by then I already know what that son done. If the son bred me good, then I'm willing to breed one of his daughters back to the father. But just because I breed a daughter back to the father that didn't really done a whole lot just to protect the line, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's good. I prefer a proven bird to go back to the grandpa than just one, just because he bred me good pigeons with other hens. He might not have bred me something really good with that one hen, but because I like the colors, I like to go back. No, performance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's
the gist of it. They're great pigeons.
That's it.
And you know, like I said, even in my family of birds, I do have some mixes. I do have some straights and some other families, but that's basically what I want to focus on as well. You know, and it does help having, you know, a family member who does real well with them. So then I can always just say, hey, uncle, send me a couple birds, you know. I need your help. But they do very well, man. Like I said, I don't want to cut too much time. We're at 19 minutes here. Just wanted to give you guys a quick one. I will be making another video on the 2 birds that did, you know, win that truck race for me. I know a couple guys were asking. But just hang on in there with me, man. We're going through a lot right now. Some of you guys may notice there's another coop back there, a coop on wheels. I'll tell you guys all about that on the next one. But until then, See you guys around, man.
All right.